Okay, so here we are once again, staring down the barrel of yet another Disney live-action remake. Okay, so veteran viewers of the channel will know that once upon a time, I actually was a bit of a defender of the Disney live-action remakes. I didn't think that most of the films released during the 2010s were all that bad when it came down to it, and I thought to myself, well, they make a lot of financial sense, don't they? When they release in the cinema, they make a hell of a lot of money, and therefore it's very understandable as to why Disney pushes them so hard, because nostalgia sells, and they do it well enough. I could accept this, the movies were okay, until we come to the last couple of years where for the most part the quality has declined so immensely that I can't help but get angry every time they announce a new one. Pinocchio offended my eyes, it offended my ears. It has to be the worst live action remake ever. Garbage, trash, filth, and Peter Pan and Wendy is a cringe fest, riddled with terrible scripting and bad acting, an utter pollutant to the screen. And Snow White, that's promising more of the same. And I made a video on that just yesterday. And simply put, to say that I hate the concept of these remakes is an understatement, a massive understatement. These movies have well and truly pushed me over the line again and again. But I could still compartmentalize everything, right? Because they're looking for the nostalgia money, remaking films from 30 years ago, or even longer. They want to update the old stories for a modern viewer. I get it, I really get it. That's just how these things go sometimes. You want to be able to tell that story, but the characters or the themes, they need updating, as they don't make sense for the tastes of the modern audience. They no longer reflect well on the company and they need some changes, and that makes sense for the older films, right? But then you get those rumors and even confirmation that things as recent as Moana are being remade. Moana, my god. How are we at the point that a film not even 10 years old is getting a live action remake? And then on top of that, my despair recently spiked when I discovered there are rumors flying around that they're going to do a live action remake of Frozen. Yes, another film that's only like a decade old, and one that in my eyes at least, is only going to end in disaster if they try to remake it. And there's a lot of reasons for that. A lot of reasons that there's a massive chance that the redo of Frozen is going to fall flat on its ass and rocket itself to the top of the list of worst live action Disney adaptations of all time. I mean, don't get me wrong, it will almost certainly be popular, whether it's for nostalgia, little kids who love the originals, or simply salty folk like me who are going to hate watch this bad boy. If it releases in the cinema, it's going to do a massive box office number. And if it's streaming exclusively on Disney+, it is going to top the charts. Frozen is a goddamn money maker. That's the reality of the situation here. And I'm not that much of a hater that I can't acknowledge that fact. But that being said, I feel like it's still being primed to be the worst live action remake ever made, and I think it will just be abysmal in every single way, and completely shit all over the legacy of the classic version. A version that smashed records, won awards, and received massive acclaim. And there are a number of reasons as to why I think it's going to be bad, but I think we can really isolate three main categories to have a look at. What are the most important elements of your film? Visuals, story, and sound. And we'll start with sound. In Frozen, the defining audio elements are your voice acting performances and the music, the songs. For performances, simply put, I think the parts are too iconic now. How the hell do you ask somebody to step into the shoes of a character like Olaf and deliver a fresh take on the character that's able to walk the line of being like the OG, but also not feeling like a bland ripoff? And you might be saying, well, just cast Josh Gad. And I'd reply, well, if you're gonna get the exact same guy to do the exact same performance, why even bother remaking it at all? Better yet, just slice him off a big old royalties check and copy and paste his audio from the animated film into the remake. Ugh. And then you come to the sisters. Elsa, iconic. Anna, iconic. Now obviously you couldn't cast the actual actors, can you? Because they're both 40 plus. They probably can't convincingly look like teenagers, but whoever you cast, they're going to be up against it. Well, in terms of their voice lines, I think you could get past it quite quickly, but the soundtrack, the singing, that's iconic. And I pity the fool who thinks that they could do a version of Let It Go that could even come close to the OG. It's such an insanely daunting prospect. I don't see why you'd bother going through with it. Because simply put, the original version is too iconic. It's a relatively recent film that completely penetrated pop culture in a way that few Disney films, or few films in general, have ever done. Everyone knows the song and their singing voices. To me, they're on the same level as Buzz and Woody in terms of speaking voices. As in, Buzz and Woody's voices when they speak are like Elsa and Anna's when they sing. It completely defines the character. Remember when they used Chris Evans to voice Buzz Lightyear, and it no longer seemed like the same guy anymore? I feel like that's the fate of anybody who tries to play Elsa or Anna. Doomed to never measure up and feel completely different. Or really like Olaf as well. They just can't stack up to the OG. And then you come to the visuals and nah, this ain't gonna be it. Reality is that these live action Disney films need top level CGI, otherwise they look like B-movie garbage. Look at the Snow White dwarfs, look at that picture. Nah. Then you look at Jungle Book or Lion King and you see that? That's the level of detail that you need, and you need a lot of it. Snow, ice sculptures, ice palace, ice powers. It all needs to look legit. Hell, little rock troll men, a living snowman. It all needs to look realistic, otherwise the film will look hokey and cheap and silly. The problem is, this would balloon out the budget immensely, like immensely. And for some reason, I don't think Disney wants to pay that level of money. Because what's the reality? People are going to flock to this film en masse no matter what they do. They could serve up a film where an old man dressed in an Elsa Halloween costume very slowly serves up and eats a snow cone. And as long as they tell you that this is the Frozen live action adaptation, people are going to go and see it. So to me, the film seems doomed to look hokey and cheap, because Disney does not like to pay their special effects people very much. It'll look like the straight to DVD level releases you used to see. Straight to Disney Plus nowadays, I guess. But let's say that they did get the budget. Live action Sven? Reindeers are better than people, but also not as emotive as animated Sven. He'll look cute, but you won't get that emotion. And so it would be hard to have those interactions he has with Kristoff that we see in the animation in a live action context. On top of that, live action Olaf feels like it would be nightmare fuel in the making. How would he even work? I just can't see how it would feel the same at all. Where would his eyes be and what would they be? Coals? Would they be carved into the snow? How do you get that emotion? You can't. It'll be like in Beauty and the Beast, where they made the fun, cartoonish objects into realistic looking objects, and you lost so much of that visual emotion in the performances. Just wasn't the same vibe anymore. And that's what's gonna happen here. And then this brings us to the story. The story in the OG is a banger. It's a groundbreaker, a game changer. And it still feels quite refreshing by today's standards, I think. At its core, it's a commentary on the role of the Disney princess that throws off the shackles of the damsel in distress to become a hero in their own story. Many of these remakes are about modernizing for the current audience, but Frozen's not even out of date yet, is it? It hasn't aged badly, has it? Am I out of touch here? I feel like trying to push it forward any further just isn't going to work, because at its heart, it's about the sisters, and if you change things around, it just feels like a recipe for comparisons, which is going to lead to disaster. You just can't win. Why would you change it? And so I wonder, why would you bother making it? Well, I answered that earlier, I guess. For the money, for the views, do it for the Vine. But yeah, I have the worst feeling that this is going to be about as pleasant as a prostate exam from a cactus. So I really hope they don't make this film. Don't tarnish my Frozen. And so with all that being said, there's not much else to say, except that these have just been my opinions, and now I'd like to hear yours. What do you think of a potential Frozen live action film? Do you think it'll be terrible? Or do you actually think it has a shot of being halfway decent? I'm curious for your thoughts, so make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and let me know.